What's up, fight fans? Mademan here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing. What up to the fam? What up to everybody in Mademan's boxing form? Hey man, so the thing is this. Word on the curb, fight fans. I just caught up with a recent interview with Sampson Lewkowicz that he just recently done over on The Boxing Voice. Salute to The Boxing Voice, and everybody should go on over there and check that out. Sampson Lewkowicz pretty much gave an update of what's going on with Sabastian Fundora. And we know Sabastian Fundora, fresh off beating Tim Tszyu, winning the WBO title as well as the WBC title. And now he's looking to see what's going to be his next move. And so his promoter, Sampson Lewkowicz, he came out and told everyone that Sabastian Fundora now is injured. And he will be out of the ring until minimally November, you know what I mean? So he's not coming back to fight no time soon. Look like that he has a broken nose, fight fans. Now, I didn't think that a broken nose would keep you out of the ring that long, but yeah, he's going to be out of the ring all the way up until November. And so we know what this means, because the WBO has recently came out ordering Sabastian Fundora to sit down and start to do work on the deal with Terence Crawford, and they have to have a deal hashed out by April the 24th. However, fight fans, don't know if that's going to happen at this point. I do wonder, can a sanctioning body force their champion who is injured to go into a mandatory, fight fans? Is there any rules against that? I mean, according to Sampson Lewkowicz, he says that Sabastian Fundora does not want to give up the WBO title. Well, if there's a way to stall for time, fight fans, this just may be it. We want to wait and see what is the position of the WBO now learning that Sabastian Fundora is injured. More than likely what the WBO is going to do is request some sort of medical proof. And if he provides said proof, that may grant him cover all the way up into November, fight fans. But we just got to wait and see. Now, you got to ask yourself, where would this leave Terence Crawford? You know, because at the end of the day, it was never really about just Sabastian Fundora. It was more so about Terence Crawford getting his hands on the WBO belt. And now with this situation like this, who knows how this may play? And I'm sure that Terence Crawford does not want to wait all the way around to November to possibly see what's going to happen with the belt. Now, the WBO may just come out and still strip Sabastian Fundora. Who knows, fight fans? We're just going to wait and see once again. And if this happens, then Terence Crawford should just continue to march towards the WBO belt. However, man, Sampson Lewkowicz, while he was on the TBV show, man, he gave a lot of little insight of how he feels pretty much about Terence Crawford. And to me, fight fans, listening to Sampson Lewkowicz talk, it just almost kind of maybe be a reflection on pretty much how PBC feels about him. And it's pretty much all of the same things that we've already heard before. Sampson Lewkowicz doesn't seem to care much for Terence Crawford, and he doesn't like the fact that Terence Crawford seems to be so empowered and want to do his own business, you know what I'm saying, instead of just worrying about just fighting. You know, he also feels as though that Terence Crawford wants too much money, and he feels as though if Sabastian Fundora should consider a fight with Terence Crawford, it should be 50-50. And just kind of listening to his statements, fight fans, the reason why Sampson Lewkowicz feels like, he's so bald, he got so, big balls on him to be talking like this about Terence Crawford, mainly because he feel like he got options. And he felt like he can go and do the Tim Tszyu rematch with Sabastian Fundora, or what he really wants to do, which is the Errol Spence Jr. fight. But it seems as if he's describing a situation behind the scenes where PBC is trying to see what they can put together involving all of these fighters to make everybody happy. You know what I'm saying? So this is really kind of a positive sign to a certain degree that Terence Crawford is still sitting down talking with PBC, working with PBC to a certain degree. Listening to Sampson Lewkowicz talk, he says that Louis the Cubist, who is the main matchmaker of Premier Boxing Champions, well, he's sitting down trying to put together something that makes everybody happy. But Sampson Lewkowicz had no mince of words in his interview of how he feels about Terence Crawford. He says, and I quote, "He's not likable and he will not sell," end quote. This seems like a talking point almost to a certain degree, fight fans. And Sampson Lewkowicz came into this conversation pretty much trying to big dog Terence Crawford and letting it be known that his fighter, Sabastian Fundora, Well, he's a unified champion at 154, and he don't think that Fundora should take anything less than 50-50 involving Terence Crawford. He described a situation where he claims that Errol Spence Jr. is willing to accept 50-50, as well as Tim Tszyu, you know what I'm saying, which he believed the Tim Tszyu fight is a huge rematch. You know, one of the things that we've been talking about here on the channel, fight fans, and I want to give a major shout out to my main man, G. Benson, where we were trying to get to the bottom of this rematch clause jazz. And G. Benson, I pretty much found the same thing that you were saying, man. It came down to allegedly a verbal agreement on a rematch. In my opinion, fight fans, that's still the same thing as a rematch clause. Granted, it's not on paper, and granted, they can't break it at any time. Hence, you see them looking for their options. But this still is an agreement for a rematch. And I thought I got that kind of feeling, listening to them talk at the post-fight press conference. So I'm gonna keep on rolling in that direction. But, Sampson Lewkowicz claims that Terence Crawford, when it comes to Sabastian Fundora, which I don't understand how all of this transpired so fast since the fight just happened on Sunday, and Sabastian Fundora was a last-minute opponent. So I don't know how Sampson Lewkowicz is drawing all of these conclusions so fast about Terence Crawford. I mean, the negotiations didn't really have a chance to play out, you know what I'm saying? And he's coming out here just like talking all kinds of bad about Terence Crawford. He says that Crawford doesn't have the charisma or following of a Canelo or a Mayweather. And he goes on and says that he wants to be a businessman and he wants to be a fighter, and that is a mistake, end quote. It seems as if Sampson Lewkowicz doesn't like the fact that Terence Crawford has empowered himself to pretty much represent himself. Y'all know how these suits do, man. They don't want none of these fighters looking at eye level with them. They would rather talk to some representation or something like that. They don't want to deal with the fighters because they feel like they're a little bit too stubborn. But Terence Crawford is a dude who's in charge of his own business. He's a free agent right now. We know that, during the Errol Spence Jr. negotiations, Terence Crawford went off and found the hedge fund when, they were complaining about money. And he found himself some new money. I mean, he even said that these folks knew Al Heyman. And, I'm sure that the suits didn't like that very much. It's like, yo, who is this fighter just going out here just like finding money and stuff, doing what he want to do? Nah, man, you're supposed to be taking orders from us. And so they don't like that. And so Sampson Lewkowicz says that he doesn't like the fact that he's a businessman and a fighter. But when it comes to a fight between Sabastian Fundora, which once again, fight fans, was never really my big aim, more so the WBO championship. And now that Sabastian Fundora is unified, well, it does make him more of an attractive candidate, you know what I mean? But according to Sampson Lewkowicz, he says, and I quote, "Definitely Fundora don't want to lose the title and he wants to fight Crawford," end quote. Well, we did definitely hear Sabastian Fundora in the post-fight press conference come out saying that, he wants to fight Terence Crawford. Saying that Errol Spence Jr., he's a good fighter and so on and so forth, but the number one fighter in the world is Terence Crawford. And I'm sure Sabastian Fundora would love to test his skills against the best fighter in the world. He goes on and says, Crawford needs to understand that regardless, he probably deserves more. He needs to, if he wants the glory, he needs to be fair on the money and the split. And if he is not fair, it will not happen, end quote. See, these type of statements can almost be seen as a setup, fight fans. Like Lewkowicz is just like talking from a position of just counting Terence Crawford out, using all of the talking points of the Terence Crawford haters and just kind of reinforcing those thoughts, you know what I'm saying? Everything that you heard the haters knock on Terence Crawford, he can't draw, he can't sell, he's hard to work with, he's holding on to the belts. I mean, Sampson Lewkowicz even started to talk about Terence Crawford holding the belts down at 147. Like, what the hell has that got to do with Fundora? You just trying to describe and make up a situation that makes Terence Crawford look difficult to everybody. So when y'all back away, it's going to look like y'all justified. Stop it, man. Stop it. So he's basically saying that Terence Crawford should take a 50-50 split if he considers putting Sabastian Fundora in the ring with Terence Crawford, man, because Sabastian Fundora is the champion and Terence Crawford is the challenger. Though he's the super champion at 147, at 154, he don't have no belts. So he believes that Terence Crawford should, take 50-50 or maybe even the lesser split. Sampson Lewkowicz also went on to speak on, because the host, Nestor Gibbs, and his co-host brought up the fact of, look, man, the WBO have a special rule that they have where they go according to your last 3 purses, and they round out your split to, based on what you've been making. We've seen Showtime Sean Porter take advantage of this rule when he fought Terence Crawford. We saw Shakur Stevenson take advantage of this rule when he fought Jamel Herring. And so maybe Terence Crawford is looking to explore that option, but Sampson Lewkowicz is letting it be known, like, pretty much if you go for that option, and he feels as though the WBO would grant Crawford too much money, and he will pull Sabastian Fundora away from that fight because they got options. And he feels as though Terence Crawford doesn't have options. But if you listen to Sampson Lewkowicz talk, you'll clearly see that Sampson Lewkowicz doesn't know much really what's going on with Terence Crawford. Just pretty much what he's hearing, you know what I'm saying? Because he's using all talking points, and no proof. Where everybody knows, man, when it comes to the drawing power of Terence Crawford, you just recently saw it on display. His last fight, he did a $20+ million gate and 750,000 pay-per-view buys. And so, I guess Sampson Lewkowicz must have forgotten about that part. He forgot about the part that Terence Crawford is on an 11-fight knockout streak and is giving us exciting performances, trying to frame him as some sort of boring fighter or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And when he even went in during his interview speaking about Crawford's belts at 147 and why he's holding on to the belts, we all know that that's a power of Terence Crawford that he possesses, where holding on to those belts allows him to move up in higher weight classes, get higher rankings, and possibly instantly challenge champions. So it's smart for him to hold on to those belts. The fact of the matter is, these suits out here don't want him to hold those belts. They want him to give them up because they want him to give up some of his power and some of his negotiating leverage. See, he's a free agent. So, these outfits pay these sanctioning bodies to get rankings and so on and so forth. Crawford doesn't have the representation. But however, with those belts, he'll be able to move up and be right in position for any title shot. And they don't like that, fight fans. They don't like that very much. According to Sampson Lewkowicz, and I quote, "If Crawford wants the glory and to win the 154 super welterweight champion, he needs to sacrifice his money and go for the glory. And if he doesn't go for the glory, we have an issue," end quote. Damn, that's crazy, dog. Like, for him to be talking like this about Terence Crawford, like Sabastian Fundora is this big name or something like that, man. I tell you, boy, these promoters are a trip, man. A trip. What I'm hearing right here is he really don't want to do this. He really, really doesn't want to do this, fight fans. But it seems as if that maybe PBC is trying to, find some new plans for Terence Bud Crawford. Granted, I don't know if Terence Crawford got to sign something or not, but like Sampson Lewkowicz said in his interview, Crawford is negotiating with Louis DeCubas. And, Sampson says he's removed himself from the negotiations. He says, and I quote, "This is the reason that I walked away from negotiations, because Crawford wants to make more than the champion," end quote. So he's not even part of this negotiation no more, man. Seems as if PBC is kind of working, all of this together. And he's going to see what can kind of get put together. According to him, he says that Fundora and Tszyu, nobody lose. They're both winners. He deserves the rematch, and I will honor the rematch, and I will leave everything to Louis DeCubas Jr. to work it out the way that everybody will be happy. So we'll see how that all looks in the end, man. We'll see how that all looks in the end. But it looks as if that he even is very high on the Tszyu rematch currently at this moment. Looking at Michael Benson posting that Sampson Lewkowicz claims that he's going to honor his verbal agreement and give Tim Tszyu the rematch, and he claims that the rematch is coming soon. And truth be told, fight fans, listening to all of this kind of putting together, I think that's where they're going to go to. I think that really Sampson Lewkowicz wants to go to the rematch for Tim Tszyu, and he really doesn't want to deal with Terence Crawford, bro. He feels he's coming out with all of this crap and these talking points. During the interview, he even left the interview and came back to the interview, fight fans. And when he came back to the interview, he came back armed with a bag of talking points. Just the host had to kind of go back and forth with him to try to let him know, no, it's not like that. It's like this. It's not like that. It's like this. But it's almost like he didn't really want to hear it. So I know the Crawford fans got to be wondering, well, main man, where would this leave Terence Crawford? I mean, he should go back into the rematch with Errol Spence Jr., right? That'd be cool if they really still want to do that. I mean, at this point, Errol Spence, who was looking at that fight, doesn't have an opponent, and Terence Crawford doesn't have an opponent. PBC can find someone else for Errol Spence Jr. to fight. That won't be a problem, I'm sure. Maybe not for a belt, but definitely, I don't think that Errol Spence Jr. need to be on the top floor anyway. You know what I'm saying? As for Terence Crawford, well, where does this leave him, man? Well, simple. I mean, Terence Crawford should be trying to get the WBO belt, but once again, if it gets tied up due to Fundora being injured, he still has other sanctioning bodies that he can still look into. Granted, he has a beautiful relationship with the WBO, but Terence Crawford also can't stall his career waiting around for the WBO. So maybe he petitions the WBC and say, hey, WBC, where would y'all put me at in these rankings if I was to petition? How fast or how long would it take for me to get a shot at the champion, who is, once again, Sabastian Fundora? And damn, he'll be out, fight fans. So that's tough. That's tough. Well, with the IBF, Bud Crawford no longer has the IBF, so he can't move up and use that. Maybe the WBA. The only scary thing about the WBA, fight fans, the WBA is PBC's favorite sanctioning body. And they do take their marching orders from PBC. So, and they have secondary belts and so on and so forth. And they can keep Terence Crawford away from the title. But those seems to be the better options right now, or at the very least, working out something with PBC. You know what I'm saying? And truth be told, man, honestly, exploring even the Sabastian Fundora option, because if Sampson Lewkowicz is out here saying that, look, I want 50-50, and Terence Crawford doesn't want to give it, and so on and so forth, I think that's something that should be considered. I mean, like I said before, bro, Sabastian Fundora is definitely not worth 50-50 for Terence Crawford. With the WBO belt, not worth 50-50. But as a unified champion, and for Terence Crawford to go after 2 belts, I don't know, fight fans. That might job be worth 50-50. You know what I'm saying? So if that's an option and Sampson Lewkowicz ain't BSing, which more than likely he is, then that's another option to explore. But Terence Crawford is going to have to sit back and see how all of these chips fall in place. Look to the other sanctioning bodies if the WBO is tied up, if the WBC is tied up as well. Look to the Errol rematch. Look to even higher weight classes if that may have to be the case, until maybe, you know, you just kind of kill some time. Maybe even look to fight at a catch weight if possible. I mean, Terence Crawford is at the end of his career, fight fans. It's not like he needs to be signing long-term deals with no outfit. If he can't get a 1-2 fight deal with an outfit, just keep on just being a free agent, bro. That's what I think he should do, you know, and see what we'll give up. When you have, by him having those belts at 147, he can always have options in other sanctioning bodies if need be, or go to a higher weight class and go after another WBO. Many different options, but we're just going to wait and see. At the very least, we do know that Terence Crawford is negotiating with The. He is negotiating with PBC, and who knows, maybe he sits down and comes up with something with PBC, man. A lot of folks thought that PBC didn't want to really have anything to do with Terence Crawford. Sampson Lewkowicz is describing a situation where PBC is dealing heavily with Terence Crawford. So I think that people just need to sit back and wait. And once again, I don't know if the relationship between Crawford and PBC is so splintered where they can't reach some sort of compromise or some sort of resolution. I don't know that. A lot of fans claim that, but they have absolutely no proof of that. So we'll see how it all works out, man. We'll talk more about this on the upcoming live stream, man. Thumbs up on the way out if you didn't hit it on the way in. Share, rock the bells, and we'll talk about this real soon, fight fans. Terence Crawford going to be all right, man. Just give it all time to work on out. The biggest surprise about all of this is that he's still sitting down speaking with The. So Sampson Lewkowicz claims that he can't talk to him. A lot of other folks in PBC claim that they can't talk to him. But it doesn't matter as long as he's talking to The. So we'll see how it goes, dog. To the next video. Peace out.